All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Steelers fans, I know you're amped. I know you're amped up. We're a couple of days removed from the NFL draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers on paper as it stands right now. And actually, I've been reading some articles, seeing some stuff on the television. Yeah, most people are aware that the Pittsburgh Steelers just had an A-plus draft class. I'm sure you Steelers fans are as well, folks. Troy Fautanu in the first round. We made a video on that a couple of days ago. Love the pick. Day one starter. Zach Frazier, second round, day one starter. Roman Wilson, third round, day one starter. And then third round, Peyton Wilson, who's going to be a day one contributor. They also picked up guys like Mason McCormick in the fourth round, the guard out of South Dakota State. Logan Lee, defensive tackle out of Iowa in the sixth round. And then Ryan Watts, a cornerback out of Texas in the sixth round. But folks, their first four picks are quite literally perfect. And also, by the way, I keep seeing stuff that they want Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, and that apparently Omar Khan is still and has been making a bunch of phone calls for picking up a solidified wide receiver too. We've been hearing Cortland Sutton. They were making trade calls before, during, and after the draft for wide receiver from the Denver Broncos, Cortland Sutton. This Pittsburgh Steelers offense especially, but their offseason in general, with the additions of Patrick Queen, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, new offensive coordinator, like things are really getting going. And I feel really comfortable about this Pittsburgh Steelers team. I just feel like they have solidified guys, and this new revamped offensive line, in my opinion, is going to be a game changer. So folks, welcome back to the channel. Obviously, we're talking Pittsburgh Steelers tonight. We're going to talk mainly about their first four draft picks. I have a feeling that's all we're going to have time for. So hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Steelers fans, love and appreciate you guys as always. If we could try and get this video to 500 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. So day one, you pick up Troy Fautanu, and we made a video on this, once again, after the first round concluded. This is such a good move. Folks, your new offensive line is looking like this. So Fautanu can play left tackle. He can play left guard. We're going to wait and see how camp battles, determine the outcome of it. But on paper right now, here's your starting offensive line, all right? Troy Fautanu at the left tackle position, Isaac Seumalo at the left guard, new center Zach Frazier, right guard James Daniels, and then right tackle Broderick Jones. So the thought process is a couple of things. Fautanu's probably going to be a day one starter, day one contributor. He is a great pass blocker. He is a great run blocker. He was a huge reason why the Washington Huskies ended up making the national championship game in college football this past year. We know that the offensive line in your offense, it's just the lifeline. If you don't have a good, consistent, reliable offensive line, you can probably kiss your Super Bowl hopes away. You need to win in the trenches on both sides of the football, and we know defensively they're pretty damn well stacked on the defensive line. So offensive line-wise, they needed a revamp. They needed a refresher, and that's exactly what you get in your first round with Troy Fautanu. This is literally an A-plus draft move, and most people are having this as well. It's funny because they walked away with Fautanu and Frazier with their first and second round picks. And the worry was that some team was going to take Troy, early first round, somewhere between pick 10 and 15. And if the Steelers wanted him, they were going to have to trade up and get him. And the same thing applies for center Zach Frazier out of West Virginia. People were thinking this dude, somebody was going to take him late first, early second, and if Pittsburgh really wanted, they were going to have to make a move and trade up to select him. So Zach Frazier, Troy Fautanu on your offensive line, completely revamped. You are set for, like I said, they're going to be day one starters. They're going to be day one contributors. I don't care about camp battles because I don't see any way either of these guys are not coming out as starting offensive players for this Steelers team. But folks, it doesn't end just there. You pick up Roman Wilson, wide receiver out of Michigan. Now, this is important because I was actually just reading an article before I started this video, and they were saying, like, yeah, it's a good move. Roman Wilson's a good wide receiver, but Pittsburgh needs a little bit more at that position. And so we saw Van Jefferson get picked up from Atlanta. We saw Quez Watkins get picked up. You still have Calvin Austin, but you've got this star wide receiver in George Pickens. You need to help him out here. So they pick up Roman Wilson in the third round with their first third round selection. Last year, 48 catches, 789 yards. He averaged over 16 yards per reception, 12 touchdowns. And I just think we have to keep in mind, right? They lost Deontay Johnson. Deontay had last season 717 yards. So, in my opinion, is it conceivable that Roman Wilson, even if he's wide receiver 3, as it stands right now, I think he'd win wide receiver 2 battle. But keep in mind, if he can get around 717 yards, which I think is expected of Roman Wilson, this is a great draft pick, long term, short term, whatever you want to call it. They needed help at the wide receiver position, and this is exactly what they decided to do in the 3rd round. So, yeah, it would be cool to grab a guy like Brian Thomas in the 1st round at pick 20 or whatever. But you can find, as the Steelers and my Steelers fans watching this video know damn well of, you can find starting caliber wide receivers all across the league, i.e. Puka Nacua from last season. But once again, as we were alluding to in the beginning of this video, I know in our last pre-Steelers video, or pre-draft Steelers video, we were talking about how I'm not going to talk about Brandon Ayuk trade ever again. Well, former Steeler cornerback and current CBS Sports NFL analyst Bryant McFadden posted on Twitter teasing a huge potential acquisition is coming for Pittsburgh. He said this in a tweet: "Ooh, Omar is working. The Steelers are very close to landing a significant playmaker." And this is in the same day where a source told BTSC that the Steelers reached out to the Denver Broncos both before and during the NFL draft inquiring about wide receiver Courtland Sutton. The Steelers were also reportedly close to trying to trade for both Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. So that's all I'll make a comment on here, but I have strong inclinations that they are not done at the wide receiver position. But once again, even if that wide receiver room, folks, stands as it is right here, right now, if he can cover around 700 receiving yards in his rookie season, which we saw a bunch of last year, this is an A-plus move once again. And we'll touch briefly on Peyton Wilson while we have some time here. Guys, this dude was a freaking animal in college. He went to North Carolina State. Landon Roberts, Patrick Queen, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, they've got a Cole Holcomb, they've got a bunch of freaking studs at the linebacker position. And I think just, no matter what Peyton Wilson provides you in his rookie season, it's going to, like, long-term, folks, in that linebacker room, it's looking really freaking good. But just for an example, last season at North Carolina State, he was a 5-year college football player, 5-year starter, of 69 total solo tackles, but he had 138 combined tackles. 17 and a half of those were for a loss. He had 6 total sacks, 3 total interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, a forced fumble. Like, Peyton Wilson's the real deal, and he'll probably see limited snaps. But as we know with the linebacking room last year, the more depth, the freaking better. So those are just the first 4 picks. That's all we have time for in tonight's video. Stay tuned for more film and all that fun stuff. I just got back from a Cubs game in Fenway. So thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. But most importantly, give me your grade for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going A+, man.